As we read at Wikipedia, the term New Jerusalem occurs twice in the Book of Revelation of the New Testament. In paragraph 3 verse 12 and in paragraph 21 verse 2. A large portion of the final 2 chapters of Revelation deals with John of Patmos' vision of the New Jerusalem. He describes the New Jerusalem as the bride, the wife of the Lamb, where the river of the water of life flows. After John witnesses the new heaven and a new earth that no longer has any sea, an angel takes him, in the spirit, to a vantage point on a great and high mountain, to see New Jerusalem's descendants. The enormous city comes out of heaven down to the new earth. John's elaborate description of the New Jerusalem retains many features of the Garden of Eden and the Paradise Garden, such as rivers, a square shape, a wall, and the tree of life.
He who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out no more. I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from my God. And I will write on him my new name. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea. Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write. For these words are true and faithful. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give of the fountain of the water of life freely to him who thirsts. He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God and he shall be my son. But the cowardly, unbelieving, abominable, murderers, sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls filled with the 7 last plagues came to me and talked with me, saying, Come, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. Her light was like a most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. Also she had a great and high wall with 12 gates, and 12 angels at the gates, and names written on them, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west. Now the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And he who talked with me had a gold reed to measure the city, its gates, and its wall. The city is laid out as a square, its length is as great as its breadth. And he measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs. Its length, breadth, and height are equal. Then he measured its wall, 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of an angel. The construction of its wall was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like clear glass. The foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. The 12 gates were 12 pearls, each individual gate was of 1 pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass.
The original Hellenic text uses the name stadion instead of furlong. There were many stadion lengths used in ancient Hellas. I believe that the stadium unit used by Apostle John was the itinerary stadion. It was equal to 300 late Egyptian royal cubits, each one having a length of 525 millimeters. At the same time though it was equal to 340 Parthenon cubits. I believe that John used Parthenon cubits to express the height of the walls. Therefore 144 cubits are equal to 66.7 meters, and 12,000 stadions are equal to 1,890 kilometers. We can thus lay the New Jerusalem cube onto the earth so that the center of one face coincides with Jerusalem, Palestine. We can then show that one corner can coincide with Mount Helicon at Hellas. This can be the great tall mountain mentioned in Revelation. But one question that arises is, why is the city shaped like a cube and not simply a flat square? In the next Google Earth photo it is shown that if we compute a cubic half-diagonal of the cube centered at Jerusalem we will see that it is equal to 1,637 kilometers. One corner can thus symbolize the northwestern border of modern Hellas. Crossing over Corfu, it falls 8 kilometers away from the Hellas-Albania border at the Ionian Sea shore. Many believe that the dimensions of New Jerusalem are arbitrary and purely symbolic. But this is not true. As we can see in the diagram, if we plunge the New Jerusalem cube into the earth such that the center of the cube is centered at Jerusalem, then extending the base we note that it intersects the equator at the surface of the earth. We compute the geocentric latitude of Jerusalem, take note of the altitude of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre above sea level, and use an online tool to compute the Earth radius based on Jerusalem's latitude. This way, using simple trigonometry, we compute the size of the stadion used in Revelation to be equal to 157.56 meters. We easily thus recognize the use of the itinerary stadion. A question that arises when one looks at the dimensions of New Jerusalem is, why are the walls so small in regards to the overall dimensions of the city cube? A measly 144 cubits. Also, where are they supposed to be? On the top face of the cube, almost 1,000 kilometers above sea level. We can explain these things if we agree that its purpose was to encode certain information. John says, "And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God." So stationed on top of Mount Helicon one looks down at the city, but he needs to know its distance. This is where the walls come in. The height of the wall plus one side of the cube create an imaginary box that has a certain volume. If we equate this volume to that of a sphere we can compute the radius of this sphere. It turns out that this length is equal to the distance between Helicon and Thebes and at the same time equal to the distance between Helicon and Delphi. This distance is also a decadich submultiple of the semi-major axis of the Moon and the minimum distance between the Earth and planet Venus. The trajectories of asteroids Ceres and Vesta also come into the picture. Since we drew an isosceles geodetic triangle using the positions of Helicon, Thebes, and Delphi, one can ask if Thebes is the New Jerusalem or if this is Delphi. To answer this question we equate the volume of the New Jerusalem cube to that of a sphere. As we can see in the diagram, the radius of this sphere is equal to the distance between Thebes in Hellas and the Giza pyramids in Egypt. The Khafre pyramid and the Khufu pyramid point to Heliopolis, a holy ancient city that symbolizes New Jerusalem.